take 3. If it's not me having a panic attack and not being able to carry on, it's my camera not wanting to play. Without preamble, this is a video response to Jules of Cosmic Arcana and her Tarot Spirit Portal tag. And this is a look at those decks that connect you most readily with your spirit guides, if you work that way, or just those decks that have a spirit or otherworldly feel to them when you use them. And well, that caught my attention right away because that's how I work within the realm of card divination. That's kind of my world. And I know it's not for everybody. But so I thought, oh yeah, I'm really into this. And then I decided I would watch other people's videos and see what they had to say first before I chuck my 2 pennies worth in. And I watched Victoria Rose's video, and she made an interesting distinction between those cards that we can use perfectly adequately that connect us with our higher self, a term I'm not entirely comfortable with, but you know, we generally all know what that means, higher self, intuition. And then those decks that somehow take us beyond that to a different realm level, or where the messages feel more like they are coming from something outside of ourselves, which again is a gray area. Yeah, because this is really difficult, because I think there are just so many, you can either look at it as so many levels of spiritual information or frequency or what have you, or just that we respond to them in different ways. We categorize them in different ways because we can't quite grasp the subtle variations, and so we give them a label or a type or a flavor. And I think that's what's I realized very quickly was going to make this video very difficult for me, because as I started pulling out decks, thinking, okay, well, what decks do that for me? Oh, well, there's this one. Oh yeah, and then there's this one, but this one's different. And then there's this one, but this one's different. And then there's this one. You know, I thought, oh, crumbs. You know, it's not just a general, this is a mundane deck and this is a spirit deck. They're different. They work in different ways. They feel different to me. I use them for different things. And this plays in nicely to my excuse to have 1,000,001 different decks, because, hey, you know, you never know who you might be missing out on if you don't have the right deck. Don't let my husband hear this. So I really struggled, and I have been really struggling all morning, and I'm telling, my palms are sweating. I am so tense about doing this video because it's emotional for me. I'm almost tearing up. I mean, this is stupid, but it's such an intense emotional subject for me that I'm going to find doing this video very difficult. I may have to pause and sort of splice things together. But yeah, God, I've got so much to say on the subject, really more than I can pack into one video, because I really don't want to get this to get so long that people just get fed up with it and switch off. So I think I'm just going to dive in, and hopefully I'll get a chance to articulate all the things I want to say about this, and all the things I think are important. I've been going over and over and over this in my head since last night, and I'm probably going to completely forget half the important things I wanted to say. I'm going to go back to the beginning. This is not my first deck. My first deck was a gifted Aquarian, which I love, and I still have it, but I just didn't click with it at all. My first real using deck was a bog standard Rider-Waite-Smith, and I'll come back to that. But the first deck that I felt a spiritual connection with was my good old Morgan's Tarot, also known as the Hippie Tarot. It's not a tarot at all, it's an oracle, and in fact, I don't have a single tarot sitting here, but again, I'll come back. This deck spoke to me on a level that at the time Rider-Waite-Smith was not speaking to me. I think basically, luckily, because this came with no guidebook. It came with a facetious tongue-in-cheek blurb intro sheet, and that was it. You're on your own, mate. And I did. I went off on it, and actually this card is probably a good one to show, because I thought about what I actually connect to with this deck. Let me show you something else. Oh yeah, here's a good one. You know, take that in. That's important. This deck is like looking in a truth mirror. It connects me to, this is probably the closest that I would come to my understanding of a higher self. This is the me that sees through the bullshit, that knows what's going on, that knows me, and will tell it like it is, you know, warts and all. You know, I really don't, I love this deck. This deck is just me in card form, I think. And I adore it. And I don't use it for anyone but me. It's too personal. I would possibly use it to read for a very close friend or family, or, you know, someone that I'm really closely connected to. But I wouldn't use it to read for other people. It's just too personal. Yeah. So that's one kind of connection. And that I love this deck. This is my best buddy deck. I've always said that. There's another kind of connection. And again, I think a lot of this is association, assumption. You know, if you're going to use an angel deck, you assume you are going to connect to angels. That's the idea. So any messages that you get through will be, hopefully, of an angelic nature. They'll have that energy, that vibration, that accent, perhaps. You know, is there a specific angelic realm separate from any other? I don't know. But it just feels that way. So naturally, when I use my grandmother's method, which is just German Skatkarten, German playing cards, I connect with my grandmother and with my ancestral line generally. This is my family deck. That's the card I actually use as my avatar for quite a few sites, because that is the female significator. It's always the Queen of Hearts. You don't go by different colorations and what have you. So I just use that one. Yeah, so when I use this deck, I'm talking to my family, you know, and I'm getting information from them, through them, and possibly beyond. I've had other, what do you call them? Spirit guides? Yeah, general spirit guide, proper personifications, like, they're like people, you know. They might not be people, but they come across with personalities and like people. That's how this one works for me. Expectation, probably, possibly. This has been an interesting experience. I have tried in the past using this deck to communicate with my mother, and it's worked to a certain extent, but I think it's been 16 years since she died. It was a difficult time, and I think I wasn't quite ready to make that connection. So when she did pop up, it would be like, oh, hi, Mom, bye. You know, gotta go. So when we were doing a Sibilla intensive on Instagram in April, I thought, well, that would be a good deck, because it's, you know, one of these gossip decks. It's a chatty deck. And I thought, well, that would be, oh, look, conversation. There you go. Would be a good deck to use to initiate some sort of connection with my mother. So I'll let you, you know, you just come in there, Mum, and, oh, we're back to that one again. You know, and we'll see if we can converse this way. Oh, boy. do you know when you haven't seen somebody for a long time and they're just, you both just got so much to say, and you're just talking over each other and babbling, and and I didn't tell you about, that's what it was like. It was immediate, to the point where I couldn't do any other reading, because every reading was hijacked by my mother going, I need to tell you this. And somebody asked me, well, how did you know it was your mother? Basically the content of the conversations, and the fact that they were initially very repetitive. I kept getting the same cards over and over again, the same themes over and over again, and it was difficult. I found it really difficult because I still wasn't quite mentally, emotionally prepared to deal with it, but I struggled through, and I got to a point where I basically told her, I said, look, Mom, I will have a conversation with you with the cards every morning, but please, please, for the rest of the day, would you leave my cards alone so I can do something else? And that has actually worked, and I'm keeping that up, and over time the messages became less frantic, less intensely focused in certain areas, and they're now much more conversational, much more jokey. It amazes me how well she uses cards, considering she had no interest in cards when she was alive, but she can, I get just the right cards. She makes jokes, she tells me stuff in ways that are like, oh, it's amazing. But anyway, that's another video. Bottom line, this deck connects me to my mother. Who knew? So there you go. That's her deck. Angels. You know, I have a few angel decks. I'm not a big angel aficionado, but I feel a need. That's probably closer to a need for that kind of energy. And I saw this deck. This is one by Alexandre Musruck. And it's simply his Angel Oracle deck. It's one of his earlier ones. I saw him using this, and I was really, really drawn to the deck. The images are just, you know, classical angel images. There's nothing special about it. But there's something about the energy of this deck, and the single keywords, and the whole, I'll tell you, this deck, and like I said, I've got several angel decks, but this deck makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up every time I use it. There's something going on there. And I feel a distinct angelic connection with this deck. Through this deck, I should say. Again, of course I do. Yeah, it's an angel deck. What do I expect? But I've got other angel decks that don't do that for me. This one does. And on an interesting side note, and I suppose there's another example, I've recently acquired a copy of the Fallen Angel Oracle. Now, I haven't used this one very much. I've only used it a couple of times, and that could well be because, again, I get a really strong connection to some sort of energy. Now, it stands to reason. You know, each of these cards has been associated with a fallen angel or that kind of energy. So it stands to reason that when you use the cards, you're going to tap into that. That's the idea. But I do intensely, actually, and not in a bad way. They're not creepy, scary, nasty. I don't get any, you know, bad vibes from this deck at all. You know, the name Fallen Angel Oracle can make some people go ooh, but it's not like that at all. There is an energy there. There's a quiet wisdom. I can't explain it. I really like these cards. I'm definitely going to have to be using them more, but I have to, I don't know, I've got to be up for that. That's a bit, so where do we go from there? Right, again, a completely different energy, and this one was a surprise. This is the Clappers. Oh, Connected and Free Oracle. Suddenly couldn't remember by Inner Hue. This is an interesting deck. This taps me into an energy I really don't recognize. This is, it's different. It's not cuddly, friendly, guardian angel, spirit guidey sort of stuff. It's of that ilk, but it's different. This is a guide that is more separate, more different than anything I normally connect to. Very much there. This one pulls no punches. This one's really blunt, but it doesn't feel unfriendly. It doesn't feel unsafe. It just is a bit more, you know, this is the answer. You know, I'm not gonna flower it up. I'm not gonna, you need to see. It digs deep. It digs really deep into my consciousness. Makes me look at things I don't actually like looking at. Which is maybe why I feel like this isn't a very friendly deck. But it is actually. But it's a very different energy, a very alien energy to what I'm used to dealing with cards. Look at that. That's gorgeous. I gotta show you that. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. I just love the colors in that. So I like this deck. I really do. But it's different again. The most interesting one, and again, this is a deck that's very special and unique to me, and this is so stupid. Some of you may be familiar with a magazine called Soul and Spirit. I think it comes, I've never bought a copy myself, so I'm just guessing here. I think it comes out every month, and it generally has like little freebies that come with it. Might be every month, might not be. And sometimes those freebies are decks, little oracle decks by various artists. And oh dear, I've forgotten the artist for this particular one, but I'll put it in the description when I'm done, and a link to the original video and what have you. And somebody, obviously, who gets the magazine on Facebook had collected quite a few of these decks, wasn't interested in keeping them, and was selling them off a little while back for £2.50 in the post to you if you want it. And I looked at some of the pictures of some of them, and I went, no. And then I saw this one, and I was immediately attracted to it, and I couldn't really understand why, because the images are very abstract, and I don't do abstract. I don't like, not for card reading. I like something a bit more concrete to work with. I mean, they're not all of them. Some of them have a bit of sort of subject going on that you can make out. But something about it just said, buy me. So that's what I did. And when I got it, it turned out it was called Your True Calling Oracle. And it was something to do with, finding your true calling, but even in a sort of mundane career, officey job type way, because there were things on the cards. All the cards had stuff written at the bottom, which I have Tipp-Ex'd out because it wasn't what I wanted to see. I wasn't interested in that. The keyword and the image was all I wanted. Thank you very much. But it was stuff like, put a potted plant in your workplace, in your work area to, improve the energy. Something, things about, trying to get along better with your colleagues by doing such and whatever it was. It was totally irrelevant to me. I wasn't interested in the deck in that way. So I literally got a little Tipp-Ex pen out and I wiped them all out, and that was fine. I kept some things, like this card, for whatever reason, had something in the blurb about rhodochrosite. And I thought, oh, well, okay, I'll write that on the side. And then on the bottoms and the sides, I write the stuff that the card tells me. So this one I associate with air. This one I associate, oh, okay, this actually said a different, hang on, my camera's telling me I'm running out of battery. This could be fun. This was associated with a different archangel, and I didn't agree with it, so I changed it. And so now I've got creativity, good news, I've got mind, and and there was an association for sodalite from the original blurb, so I've left that on there. That kind of thing. Anyway, this deck is probably my strongest spirit guide connection deck. And that's gaga. But it is. There's something about this deck that taps me straight into a particular flow of information, a particular type of energy. I use this deck for me. This is a me only deck. Or if I use it for someone else, I use it for someone else from my perspective. You know, it's like, oh, I'm really worried about my friend. What's going on with her? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, as you do. You know, it's things I need to know, things that matter to me. That's what I use this deck for. Look at the backs. The backs are quite pretty. I like the coloring on the backs. But it's crazy. And this is one that sits on my desk, like right, 6 inches away from my hand. So I have access to it at all times. Go figure. So there's all different kinds of spirit portals. You know, there are different spirit portals that take you to different places, and different spirits, different energies. So there's that. But I said I would come back to the Rider-Waite-Smith because I sort of looked at all of this and said, well, what's my overall? Where's the one that takes me the furthest? Because Veronica Rose again said something about, there was the Happy Tarot took her to like way beyond, any sort of messages she thought she was going to get from it. It was like the messages seemed to be coming from the Milky Way. Not that they weren't relevant or important, but they came from somewhere far away. And I thought, do I have a deck like that? And then I thought, well, yeah, actually you do. And it's the Rider-Waite-Smith. Now I can use that deck, and I do use that deck, and I've been using it for, on and off, to be fair, for 40 years. I use that deck for the most mundane, everyday readings, where I am tapping into my intuition, my higher self, and I'm, getting the information I need. Thank you very much. And then sometimes I'll lay out cards for, what seems like a perfectly ordinary question, and suddenly the message seems to come from somewhere else. It's beyond, well beyond what I'm used to. And unlike some of these other decks where I feel a personal connection with the energy, this isn't like that. This is a beyond energy. This is an out there energy. That's the deck that is the most expansive, has the broadest outlook, brings me the most enlightening messages. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that it's a Rider-Waite-Smith. It's probably got a lot more to do with the fact that it's the deck I've been using the longest. It's the deck I'm the most comfortable with. So it speaks to me far more easily than any other deck I have. For that reason alone. I'm glancing up there because I actually have the deck on the mantelpiece at the moment, because I always do a 3-card draw sort of for each quarter, and at the moment we've got June, July, August, September. So they're sitting up there at the moment, so I'm looking at my lovely deck. Yeah, so it's funny, that is my most down-to-earth deck for, tarot card reading. It's my most magical deck. Yeah, and I suppose that's as it should be. And this has been going on for a very, very long time, and I'm just going to shut up now. I realize there are some other points that I haven't touched on that I meant to, but I just have to let it go. And I'm just going to go have a lie down now. So, I'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye.